You
got
need
it.
me? You got
Yeah,
it.
I got it.
Thank you, Ms. Roby.
Well, I actually do take a different approach when it comes to the bases that we have in Japan and Germany. We currently have 23 bases in Japan and 16 in Germany, and a very, very important hospital in Germany. We right now are in two wars, fighting two wars. We are fighting two wars, and we are carrying out other peace missions. It is absolutely imperative, even though these bases maybe don't serve the original intent in which they were placed in these countries. We now have a direct threat all around them. Again, we are fighting two wars for deployment and for healthcare issues when it comes to our soldiers who are wounded while they are in combat. But we also have North Korea, and we're looking at a direct threat from Iran. As long as we are welcome in these countries, our troops there do serve as a deterrent for everything that's happening on that side of the world. And I do think it is absolutely important that as long as we are welcome, that we maintain a presence, not just for the health and benefit of our troops that are currently located in that side of the world, but also as a deterrent to the nations who want to do us harm.
I want to clarify, we are not in two wars. We never declared war. And that's a distinct difference that we need to understand. We are in two, again, open-ended conflicts. And I'll tell you something. It is not a nearby presence that deters your enemy from doing something they shouldn't do. It is the threat of swift and strong response, wherever that response comes from, that deters your enemy from acting. You can be next door to them, and if they don't think you're going to do anything about it, it doesn't matter. So whether we're there or whether we're not, it is a projection of strength, and the willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect ourselves is what's going to deter our enemy from doing anything against us. We need to bring our troops home. They need to be here. Should we have strategic presences? Absolutely. Should they be as significant as they are? Absolutely not.
Want you guys to give a closing statement? I think I'll let you introduce yourself first. I'll let Mr. Barber, I'll let you. 5 minutes maximum because of our television time. If you keep it a little shorter, that would be great. But up to 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Mr. Barber.
Everyone here has a choice come July 13th. You have two great candidates here. I think both of us would make excellent congressmen and serve you well. But you have two entirely different resumes and two entirely different campaign approaches. And at the end of the day, what I'd like to point out is how important it is. And the reason I got in this race was because what I feel we need in Washington, D.C. is more real-world experience. When we talk about common sense, when we talk about that detachment, that separation of understanding that's up in D.C., I believe that it comes from putting people up there that have never served in life in the areas in which we have problems today. We have an economy that's out of control. We have jobs that need to be created. We have business people that are being left behind. No one is better suited to go and fight for them and understand and communicate with them than someone who has been there and done it before. We are in open-ended conflicts. We have rules being taken away from our soldiers as to how they can fight wars. We're changing policies that make absolutely no sense. We're losing critical generals out of our military because there is a disconnect with what serving means and what strong national defense takes and what our leadership is providing today. And I believe that it is because we have less leaders today than we ever have had that have ever served in the armed services. We need leaders that have been standing tall, taking the government to task, holding them accountable as a citizen, and providing that leadership. And I think when you look at my record of how I've been campaigning from day one, you will find that I have been on the bold front edge, fighting the liberals, fighting Bobby Bright, calling out the President of the United States for the task for the things that he has done and the choices he has made. And I will continue to do that. And I think that is a representation of leadership and what kind of leader I will be on your behalf. I think further you should ought to look at the ads that we've put out. And I think they're important because they're not once, not twice, but 3 times now, probably 4 by tomorrow. We will have garnered national attention with our message. And the reason that is important is because the only way a freshman congressman will be effective in Washington is if he reaches out and fires up the people. If you cannot communicate with the people, not just in your district, but nationwide, You will not be an effective congressman as a freshman. You just won't. I promised getting in that I would run a bold campaign, that I would lead from the front, and more than that, that I would educate the constituents on what's going on in Washington, D.C., because at the end of the day, you are the power in our government. And if I need something to be accomplished in Washington, D.C., I have one major thing to my advantage, and that's a megaphone. I have access to the media. I have the access to communicate with all of you in a lot of different ways, and nationwide. And the best congressman is going to be the one that reaches out and has a message that fires up the people and gets them involved to then reach out to their congressmen and their leaders to stand up against bad legislation and support the good legislation. I have shown you that from day one. And so I ask that July 13th, you consider that. Look at how the campaigns have been run, how much momentum we have picked up, and what kind of leadership we have provided. And I hope that will garner your vote on July 13th.